Welcome to GameSpot Live. I'm Greg Kasavin, standing in for Erik Wolpaw, who reviewed Soldier of Fortune 2 Double Helix for us. Soldier of Fortune 2 is a gory sequel to a gory first-person shooter, and it does a lot of the same things that the original game did, only better. There's a cutscene around halfway through the game where a character puts a gun up to his head and commits suicide with it, and right as he does so, the camera cuts away so you don't actually see any of the gory details. That's about the only moment of restraint to be found in Soldier of Fortune 2, a game otherwise characterized by a whole lot of people getting shot in the head and a whole lot of gory violence. That's how you've heard it advertised, and it certainly delivers on that front. Like in the original game, the violence is rather exaggerated. It's almost like something from a horror movie rather than something realistic or lifelike. Soldier of Fortune 2 might not be anything different, but it packs a good, long single-player mode and also a great multiplayer mode to boot. The best part of the story is that you can skip it. It's pretty boring and doesn't really make any sense and just gets in the way between the different action sequences in the game. Surprisingly, skipping the story actually makes it easier to understand what you're supposed to be doing. The training sequence, and early on you're told about a lot of different kind of stealthy actions that you're supposed to take, and about how to hide in shadows and all sorts of things like that. In practice, though, you'll find that stealth is practically useless. You just basically go into a level. The first guy might not know you're there, but as soon as you take him out, all of his buddies are going to know, and they're all going to be coming for you, and you'll be fighting for your life all until you're finished. The game gives you options for going prone and picking up dead bodies and things like that, but they really don't figure into the gameplay. And the fact that enemies can see you even when you're hiding in tall grass, it just takes away from the effect that you're actually going about things in a stealthy manner. You'll soon realize that this is just a run-and-gun shooter. The good news is the single-player campaign's about 20 hours long, and the last two-thirds of it are just pure action, and the action is great. The enemy AI is a lot better since the original game. Although the enemy AI doesn't exhibit much in the way of squad tactics, they'll still use grenades to flush you out, and they're very good at using cover. The grenades actually make for some great moments. The enemies will run away from them also, so sometimes you'll find yourself running neck and neck with one of the enemies just trying to escape from an explosion. Despite that the action is fun, the environments themselves are pretty bland. They're basically a lot of warehouses and all kinds of dismal settings like that. Fortunately, the levels are filled with plenty of stuff that breaks and shatters from all the errant gunfire going on. One particularly nice effect is when you toss a grenade, it destroys and shatters all the glass in the area. That's an effect that we'd like to see in a lot more games. Though the environments don't look all that great, the characters look really, really good. Using the ghoul technology from Soldier of Fortune 1, an enhanced version of it, the developers have managed to create characters that look really quite lifelike and can be kind of vivisected in a number of different ways depending on where they're hit and how they're hit, and all kinds of really grisly things. So needless to say, this isn't a game for the squeamish. You'll see arterial spray, you'll see people clutching at their guts, all kinds of really terrible things. So if that excites you, then you'll be looking forward to Soldier of Fortune 2. Otherwise, it's probably not the shooter to buy for your kids. The audio in Soldier of Fortune 2 is also really well done. All the guns sound big and heavy and powerful, and there's even a nice effect for when you're walking on shattered glass. All the characters speak in their native languages, so by the end of the game you'll know how to say grenade in like 4 different languages. In addition to the single-player campaign, there's actually a random mission generator, which sounds like a great idea. It can create these objective-based levels where you're trying to hunt someone down and all kinds of things like that. Unfortunately, these aren't that great in practice. They're just kind of these big, wide-open areas, and the enemy AI doesn't do that well in these sorts of open environments where you can just snipe at it without it really knowing how to deal with you. So while it's a nice thought, in reality the random mission generator really only simulates what would be a bland, boring shooter, only about 1 million different levels worth of it. On the other hand, Soldier of Fortune 2's multiplayer mode is excellent. It has all the different options you'd expect from a multiplayer shooter at this point, and the best of these is called Infiltration, which is similar to Counter-Strike, where if you happen to die during a round, you sit out until the round is over. That gives a lot of tension to the action. And during an infiltration match, one team is trying to defend a particular object while the other team is trying to retrieve it. It can be really intense. Soldier of Fortune 2 isn't a hyper-realistic or extremely tactical shooter but since it looks good and sounds good, it's basically just a lot of fun to play, even in the multiplayer mode. Soldier of Fortune 2 isn't great in every respect, since the plot and the environments and the stealth aspects really aren't very good. On the other hand, most of the game consists of wild gunfights, which are a lot of fun to play through. On top of that, if you're into multiplayer shooters, then the infiltration mode alone is probably reason enough to recommend the game. So if you're looking for a gory and violent shooter, then look no further.